The NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commission is now responsible for overseeing behaviour support and monitoring restrictive practices in New South Wales. This will be phased in Australia-wide over the next few years. Each state and territory will retain responsibility for the authorisation and consent processes. Our shared commitment is to improve the lives of people with disability and reduce and eliminate restrictive practices. So how does this impact the way you manage restrictive practices? That's easy. The process is almost the same. Here's what you need to know. As a New South Wales NDIS service provider, you need to comply with the New South Wales Restrictive Practices Authorisation Policy and Procedural Guide. Under this policy, you still need authorisation and consent to use a restrictive practice, just like you always have. These processes are necessary to protect the rights of the people you support. Any intervention or practice that restrict the rights or freedoms must be clearly identified in a behaviour support plan. So, what's now considered a restrictive practice? New South Wales has adopted the NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commission's 5 definitions: seclusion, physical restraint, mechanical restraint, chemical restraint, and environmental restraint. The biggest change here is that the use of medication on a routine basis is now included under chemical restraint. As always, restrictive practices are strictly a last resort. They must be the least restrictive option available and used for the shortest possible time. Any unauthorised use of restrictive practice is a reportable incident. To address behaviours of concern, that is, behaviours that pose a risk of harm to the person or someone else, you'll first need to undertake a comprehensive behaviour support assessment. This will form the basis of the behaviour support plan. Once you've developed a behaviour support plan, you'll need authorisation from a Restrictive Practices Authorization Panel. A panel can be convened by you as a service provider, or you can access an existing one. Panels must be made up of at least 2 people. The first is a senior manager, familiar with the particulars of the operational environment. The second is an independent behaviour support specialist. If necessary, FACS can help by providing a free-of-charge behaviour support specialist from their pool of independent specialists. Submissions requesting a restrictive practice authorisation must now be lodged via the FACS RPA system, which can be accessed on the FACS website. The portal captures the behaviours of concern, as well as suggested strategies to reduce these behaviours. You'll need to include the behaviour support plan and other documents and evidence with your application. The RPA panel will review and evaluate your submission. It then decides whether or not to authorise the requested restrictive practice. The panel records its decision in the New South Wales RPA system's outcome summary. This will also need to be uploaded to the NDIS Quality and Safeguards Commission system. Full authorisation can only be provided for a period of up to 12 months. There may be exceptional circumstances where you'll need to act fast. In this case, you'll require interim authorisation to use a restrictive practice. You must request this within 1 month. Interim authorisation can be granted by a senior manager in your organisation who will consider and authorise the restrictive practice based on an interim behaviour support plan. This is required within 1 month after the first use of the practice. They'll need to specify the length of time that the interim authorisation applies, no longer than 5 months. You'll still need to develop a behaviour support plan and request authorisation by an RPA panel as soon as possible, and within 6 months of interim authorisation being granted. To find out more about managing restrictive practices, check out the other resources on our website. Read the New South Wales Restrictive Practices Authorisation Policy and Procedural Guide, or watch the next video.